It's 6:30. I'll call our meeting to order. And would you call the roll, Kevin, please?
Mr. Babcock?
Here.
Mrs. Sweet?
Here.
Mr. Bear?
Here.
Mr. Whitaker?
Here.
Mr. Avery? Mr. Hannah?
Here.
We do have a quorum of council. Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting. This is the regular session of the Enon Village Council. This is Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. Do we have any additions to our agenda this evening?
I have one for communications.
Communications, Mr. Babcock.
And I'd like to make a motion to excuse Mr. Avery this evening, though he may be watching us on YouTube, I believe.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Hannah and a second by Mr. Whitaker. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
So that motion is approved, does pass. Let's look at the minute.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
I have something under
Oh,
committee
sorry.
reports too.
Committee reports. Mrs. Sweet? Okay. Anything else? All right. Let's go into the minutes of the Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023 meeting. And if you've had a chance to look at those and are satisfied with their contents, I would ask for a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Bear. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Okay, those are approved as presented. Let's go into the financial report. Good evening, Rob. This will be your job someday. Someday soon. Cash
Not soon
summary.
enough as far as Tim's concerned.
Very well said, Mr. Babcock. Cash summary by fund. General fund, approximately $192,000. Street fund, $94,000. And the police levy, $369,000. Water operating, $329,000. Contingency fund for water department, $110,000. Total of all funds, $1,156,261.90. And Dave, I think Kevin already answered your question, but that transfer that we see on there, and that's that $15,000 as we chip away at that negative balance that we had. I just calculated it's going to take 5 1/3 years and we'll have it paid off. So, so we're getting there. Appropriation status report. Let's look at general fund on page 2. About 72% of what we had appropriated has been spent. So we're a little bit high there. We'll have to keep an eye on these last few months of the year. Expenditures there, but not too bad. Street construction, maintenance and repair, we are about 47%. And again, the big project will come up next month, Kevin. That resurfacing of South Senior will be October.
Should be October, November, yeah.
Yeah, after the 15th sometime.
Yes.
Thank you.
That'll make a lot of people happy.
Yes, it will.
Police levy, 64% has been spent. We're good there. Water operating, approximately 61%, and we're good there as well. Let's look at the revenue status report, page 1. Really good news for our general fund. We're about 99% collected of what we anticipated, and you'll see everything that is over what we had anticipated. Anything over, of course, 100%. And if you notice that down towards the bottom, we've done very well interest-wise on our accounts. That was not anticipated when Laura put this budget together at the beginning of the year, but we've done very well there. So our general fund is going to end up in really good shape at the end of the year, it looks like. On page 2, street construction, maintenance and repair, we received about 64% of what we anticipated. And police levy, well, we're about 109%, so we did a little bit better there as well. And that will probably be pretty much everything unless we have something miscellaneous in that particular fund.
Is there a lag, Tim, on gasoline tax as a rule?
So the gasoline taxes typically come in every month for the most part. During what part of the month, Dave? I don't know.
So do you think we'll ever reach the 160 that we projected as far as a budget?
I'm sorry, say again.
Do you think we'll reach the 160 as far as revenues go?
On which account, which fund now, Dave?
Gasoline tax as far as a revenue?
Top of page 2.
Let's see. So what are we, 65% there? Well, we're close. We'll have to, I guess, Dave, we'll just have to see what happens. So,
Okay.
going to water operating on page 4, approximately 69% has been received to date. Total of all funds on page 5, about 81% total received of what we anticipated. So really, we're in pretty good shape as far as that goes. And, our fund balances for this time of year, I mean, let's face it, they're good. I know they're going to go down, and they're going to go down with some of these projects that we have going on take place, and it comes time for them to get paid. But with that, I would ask for a motion and a second to approve the bank reconciliation for the month of August.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Okay, that reconciliation has been approved as presented. Also in your packets, you have, and this is the annual resolution that accepts the rates and the amounts determined by the Budget Commission. And if you look through that, you will see our different levies. You'll see anticipated receipts. And this is basically a formality that we go through every year. This is put together by the Clark County Budget Commission and certifies, obviously, to the county auditor these anticipated collections off these levies. So we're going to need to pass this as an emergency resolution. So I would entertain a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Whitaker. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Then I would ask for a motion and a second to approve, and this would be Resolution 2023-05, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mr. Bear. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And thank you very much. That resolution does pass. So if there are no other questions regarding financial matters, I would like to introduce, we have with us this evening Maureen Fagans, and I'm going to call you the Executive Director, Maureen, I think that's still your title, of United Senior Services, used to be Elderly United of Springfield. So welcome, and thank you so much for coming. And Maureen and I have known each other for years. I used to serve on the board back in the day.
You did, yes,
So,
back in the day.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been a few years. I am here I think you see me at probably once every 5 years. I come and make certain that I have an opportunity to let our government officials know what USS does, why we do it, how we get it done. And it always coincides with our annual, or our 5-year renewal levy. We are not, according to Ohio law, that is how senior service levies are organized and run, so we have no choice. We must go back to voters every 5 years and ask them to renew, which is what this levy is. So I'm going to put this up just in case it gets caught on film, but I wanted to share just a few highlights about who we are, what we do, and I have a timer, so I promise I won't go very long. Tim is right. We were organized as Elderly United in 1968, and of course, most people still know us as Elderly United. In 2009, our name was changed to United Senior Service, and it was changed in deference to the boomers in our community who were starting to think about joining the senior center and maybe needing their services, and they found the word, they didn't want to be called elderly. And so in order to navigate that change, we changed our name to United Senior Services in 2009. Guess what? Gen X says, I love what you're doing. This is a great facility, but I'm not coming to the senior center. So here we are. And we're not going to change our name again. And in fact, on the ballot, you'll see that our name, our legal name remains Elderly United, doing business as United Senior Services.
I didn't know that.
Yep, it's part of our ballot language. We've had it ever since we changed our name back in 2009, and we don't want to mess with success, so that's the way it's going to stay. We were incorporated as a nonprofit organization back in 1968, so almost 50 years of business now. Our mission is to provide high-quality supportive services that help older adults in our community live active, involved lifestyles and promote or provide the support needed in order to stay and live independently in your community. We rarely see anyone who tells us they can't wait to go to a nursing home. They fiercely want to be able to live where they call home, and that's often in the house that they've raised their families in. So we provide those supportive services to help them do so. I have a couple of interesting statistics. In Clark County today, or sometime real soon here, where 33% of Clark County is age 55 or better. 33%. Over 40,000 of us age 55 or better. By 2030, that number is going to continue to increase all the way up until 2040, when we should see it level up at around 37% of our total population. Now, of course, that means all things staying the same. I fully expect that some of the housing developments that are going up are going to impact that, and I sure do hope so, because I looked at the census data from the last census study, and Enon, 37% of Enon is age 55 or better, just the city, and only 20% are age 19 or less. So we flip flopped. We're now an older population in Clark County. So and that population continues to grow, and so these kinds of services that USS offers, we don't have a medical director, we don't have health care services. What we're providing are Meals on Wheels. We serve over 500 meals every day all around Clark County. We also have vans that provide trips or rides for people to get to their medical appointments, handicapped accessible vans, so people can call and schedule an appointment, and we'll pick them up and drive them to their doctor and bring them back home. We have door-to-door service, so somebody who's using a walker or is a little unsteady with their cane, we can let them, we will escort them out to the car and into the doctor's office. And then we also offer a number of in-home services, so housemakers or homemakers and personal care aides to help somebody with their hygiene and to make certain they're safe when they get in the shower. Those are the kinds of services that USS is known for. And the levy is meant to support those services. About 25% of our budget is grants. Those are federal, state, and local grants. But over 60% of our budget is senior service levy, and then the rest is donations and fees and some other kinds of incomes. So fully 60% of our budget is levy, and it's how we provide the services that we do. We served over 3,800 people last year in our community with those services. In addition to those services, we have registered over 4,000 members who were using our recreation centers. Those are located here, downtown Springfield, and in New Carlisle. So fully over 8,000 people, or 20% of our population, has found us and is using us in some way. And as that older population continues to grow, we see the importance of helping people maintain and improve their health so that they can stay home longer and they don't need the supportive services as early, because there's more of us and we're living longer and we're living healthier, which is the way it should be. So the levy is a renewal levy. There are no new taxes here. Because it's a renewal, if you didn't go through any revaluation by the Clark County auditor this year, or even if you did, that levy dollar amount, that tax you pay, is locked in, and so that you will pay the same tax for the next 5 years that you've paid for the last 5 years, regardless of how your house has valued. Gone up or down with the market or with county reappraisal. We are our levy is 60% of our budget, but fully 85% of that levy is going to those services that we're providing in the community. Very, very small amount of it is used for education, especially health education, but also to maintain our facilities. So if you're age 55 or better, you're welcome to join. We'd love to see you. Everybody who comes in knows someone that they hadn't seen in a while. And it's important that we get the vote out this year. And it's, if your home is appraised by the county auditor at $100,000, your tax is less than $50 a year, so closer to $49 a year. And it provides the services that so many of our family members and our loved ones need in order to maintain their independence.
And you got a great pickleball program, right? Pickleball.
We don't have enough of a pickleball program. We were cutting edge in 2016 when we built that court. Everybody was.
It was.
Yeah. And now people, they're asking me regularly, where can we play pickleball? In fact, we're going to have a conversation about that. We have seen a change in the older population. There is much more emphasis on health improvement, exercise, and using the pools and taking exercise classes, and that's become our number one usage at our recreation centers. Pickleball is right there with them. It's one of the sports that people engage in. So we recognize that our satellite locations don't offer robust opportunities for people to exercise like our downtown center does. So we're exploring what that means in our satellite locations.
6.2 million, we can set you up.
Well,
We've got a place for you.
Yeah, we got a spot.
well, we're a nonprofit, but I do want to have the conversation. I'm hopeful that we'll find an underutilized gymnasium somewhere, or a underutilized school building, maybe a underutilized church hall. We want to get creative because we know we need to consider what the right approach is in Enon and our other satellites going forward. So I appreciate your time.
Well,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate what United Senior Services does, and I've seen firsthand the service that it provides to people in Clark County, and it's amazing.
It's amazing, and it's growing.
Yeah. So-
I'm so proud to be a part of this team. We are, as an organization, we are all rowing in the same direction. It's a real treat to be with them, with my staff, and it's a very rewarding. It's a very rewarding job.
Absolutely. Are there any questions for Maureen from council? Thank you.
I would appreciate your endorsement. I know that the council can't make an endorsement as a council, but if you're so inclined, I'd love to add you to the list of endorsements individually. And we appreciate being here in Enon. I appreciate having some time in front of you, so thank you so very much. Let's vote November 7th.
Thank you,
for the
Maureen.
levy.
Thank you so much. Good to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I put these in your vestibule?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marion.
Let's go to communications. I've got a couple quick items. We had a nice meeting about the Apple Butter Festival. It was about 2 weeks ago, so we brought the village, the fire and EMS department together, Apple Butter, and let's see who else. Historical Society had a really good conversation. I'm not going to go into a lot of the details of what we talked about. Some of it is a little bit sensitive, but we are looking to make a few changes for the better, and we'll see how those pan out. But overall, it was a good meeting, and I thank everybody that attended and contributed to that particular meeting. The other item that I wanted to talk about, Rick, when was it, do you think, that we met with the gentleman, I'll call him the engineer or the architect, that had laid out the plan for the proposed development there on Stein Road? Was that a year ago or 2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, at least.
Might,
At least.
it was a while back. The village had been contacted by the engineer, architect that had laid that particular plan out. I personally did not know the details of it because I didn't follow it that much. We met with this gentleman, and he basically showed us what had been proposed. Of course, the plan was turned down through a referendum of voters of the township, but there is interest from the property owner, Mr. Calhoun, to see if the village would be interested somewhere down the road in annexing that property for potential housing development. Every once in a while, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, maybe 3 or 4, I get a call from Mr. Hahn and just kind of a update how things are going in Enon. And I've never met the gentleman. We don't have any specific plans on anything. It's just a conversation of, hey, this is what we're doing on council. This is how things are going. But I think we're at a point, if the council as a whole would like to maybe hear at a council meeting what that plan originally was, what they might be able to propose that would be more conducive to Enon zoning, if that would be their desire, I would be willing to try to set that up and bring someone in to address the council if that would be the desire of the council.
There be anything wrong about? I don't think there'd be anything wrong about reaching out. I think it's important to annotate off of that we advised him that we have certain zoning requirements and we would continue having certain zoning requirements, and that there might have to be some adaptability to meet our standards, and that's kind of where it was left at that point. So.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, there was no any type of discussion about acceptance from the village part other than, hey, this is what our zoning codes read right now. Is there a district that would possibly match up with something that you might revise if that property were annexed into the village? So you're exactly right.
Again, nothing wrong with reaching out to him and see if he would be interested, with the acknowledgement that it's still a sensitive topic with a lot of people, and that we're not trying to usurp anybody's authority or current property locations.
The whole gist of it is, and I know people are very sensitive about development in the Enon area, but is it possible that it could be advantageous to the Enon community, to the village of Enon, to look at some type of project? And I don't know. I think we need to start a conversation, and maybe it would go somewhere, maybe it wouldn't. So in any case, I'm throwing that out there. Let's put it this way: if there's no objections, I would like to reach out and invite a representative to come in and talk to us.
At some point, it's going to be a development, whether it's within the village or the township, and without continuing to put the tax dollar onus on our current citizens, it's a one way to provide some relief to our taxpayers, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
I agree with what you said. The problem I see is, our schools, which, we don't have any control over, but, we have classes right now with 27, 28 kids. There's one wing of the building that hasn't been developed, but, the school's having trouble paying for a field to be built outside of the school. So what are the chances of being able to utilize that wing of the school if we get 100 more students? I think there's a lot of things, obviously it was turned down dramatically by voters. I'd be okay listening to it. I don't want anyone to take that as we're pushing to make this happen, because I don't think, I know I'm not there yet. But there's a lot of things that play into that other than, helping out our fund balances, to me. But I'd certainly be okay listening to someone.
Okay. Well, I'll make contact and get something set up for a future date. Thank you. Mr. Babcock.
Yes. So anyway, based on some published articles and, word of mouth discussions that have been going on, I've received several phone calls regarding any reelection status for me. And I just wanted to let everybody know that while I got 120 signatures, I made an administrative error on one of the forms. And because of that, the Board of Elections invalidated the application. So I am not eligible to run for reelection. Still serve out through December. I own it. It's a absolutely silly mistake.
Not the first time it's happened.
Not the first time it's happened, but, first time it happened to me. And it was just unbelievable. But, it was my fault. It is not anybody else's. And I regret that for, all the people that, did support. But I just wanted to let everybody know that rather than have any rumors go around one way or another or wondering whether, I just wanted to clarify it.
Thank you for doing that. Any other items of communication? Let's go into staff reports. And Kevin, I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Council, residents. Enon Xenia Construction Road update. Got an email from Paul today saying that they're going to start curb and gutter on Friday, start the sidewalk and drives next week, and then pave the week of the 25th. They'll be placing pavement markings down and signs, putting up signs the first of the week of October, and hopefully opening the road around the first or second week of October. So I know the final completion date was like November 8th, so that's
Nice.
they moved right along. So
About a month ahead of schedule.
yeah, so that's naturally dependent on the weather and cleanup and things like that, but they're moving right along. So I just want to give you that update.
I know they were working out there this morning when it was pouring at drop off.
Oh yeah.
It was pouring.
Fitness trail, we're gaining a lot of ground on that. We're pretty much close to the end. There's a couple more spots where gravel needs to be put in and tidied up, and basically I'm going to go through and get a punch list and get this grant wrapped up. We did pour the pads for the benches, so the benches will be installed tomorrow. And like I say, just finishing up gravel, dirt work, and putting up some signs that we have to put up, things like that. So hopefully, weather permitting and no unforeseen circumstances, probably maybe in another 2 weeks that'll be done.
Now, did we pay for and I'm trying to remember how this one works. Did we pay for the benches up front and
Yes.
then we get reimbursed?
Yes, I turn in all the receipts and then we get reimbursed for that.
And what is that going to amount to? I know I ask you that every time this
The
topic comes
total
up.
amount, I do not know. The benches was probably $2,000.
But the bottom line is we may be sending in or we will not maybe, we will be sending in to the state of Ohio a reimbursement for maybe like $10,000.
Yeah, I'm thinking yes, because I got to do all of our labor that our in-kind labor that gets
And we
counted.
bill back
We'll
like
bill
the trucks, the backhoe
trucks,
at a
yep.
set rate that they determine is acceptable. Okay.
through.
Okay.
Yep. So I'll get
Thank
all
you.
that paperwork
Okay.
filled out and get it sent in on the final disbursement. I know I have a status report that I got to turn in next week to them, and that on that report they ask for how much of the project is done. So
Sure.
I'm estimating maybe it's probably 85-90% done right now. So
Gotcha.
we're moving right along.
Thank you.
The court report you have in your packet there for the month of August. There was 10 traffic cases. Total funds received for the current month, $1,645. Year-to-date, $14,833.92. Total remitted to the state, current month, $300. Year-to-date, $2,590.50. Total remitted to the village, current month, $1,333. Year-to-date, $12,045.92. Total dispersed, $1,645. Year-to-date, $14,833.
I'll move that we accept the mayor's court report as presented.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mr. Bear. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet?
Yes.
Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
The annexation agreement with the park property with the township, they did pass that. I will be giving that agreement back gave it to Todd for his signature.
So the township passed it.
Township passed it.
Okay.
We just got to get the township prosecutor or solicitor's signature on that. And with that, Bobby McClure's going to be coming tomorrow. We do have a pre-construction meeting at 10 o'clock here for the road resurfacing project.
Okay.
So he's going to take that project back with him, get the signature, but yes, they did go ahead and pass that and accept it. So
Thanks. I'd like to keep that moving. I know David asked about it several weeks ago, and I don't know, it just seemed like the stuff that we do, it goes a lot smoother because we have our own legal people in-house, and it's not being critical of the process through the township with their legal folks, but it just seems like it takes a lot longer. So,
there's an issue with a couple entry doors on the water treatment plant that we have to get replaced. The door frames is badly rusted. The doors, I guess, to my knowledge, this will be the only second time that they've been replaced since the plant was built. So actually, they're wearing pretty good. But I had to come to council to get your blessing to spend this to order the 2 commercial doors, metal frames, metal doors. Installation came to $5,790 through Dayton Metal Door. And I did get another quote from Buck Run out of Dayton, and theirs was $6,530. So but they do need replaced. I mean, there's,
So you need a motion to approve that? It was over what, by,
it was over by $790,
okay,
$800.
so less than 1,000. So you need a
Kevin, is that
motion?
due to a lot of corrosion off the salt products down there somewhat, or is it?
I think it's just normal. I mean, those are,
This is those doors that are on there now are the replacement doors that replaced the original doors.
Right.
So it's lasted what? It's 50-year-old
Yeah,
plant, that
50-year-old
part of it,
plant,
so
so-
25 years, so,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't notice any salt. I mean, I mean,
Wasn't sure just the exposure down there, if that might have anything to do with the corrosion, or maybe look at a stainless by chance, but, again, go with what you got, but it was just a thought.
I'll move that we approve the $5,700 purchase.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker, seconded by Mrs. Sweet. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock,
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Bear,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah.
Yes.
That's it. In your packet, or I put in front of you too, I know it was mentioned to the assistant administrator job description. Christy and I discussed that and looked at the previous job description, not assistant administrator, but the administrative assistant, and just kind of, we had a good long talk of, basically all that she does, and came up with this job description for that position. And also it was asked to bring up a clerk of courts job description, so you have those in front of you as well. And I feel not, not talking about her, but I feel that that's a good representation of what that position does. After discussion and after looking at it 2 or 3 times and, making changes and additions, deletions, I think this gives a well representation of what actually that position would take on. So,
Thanks to both of you for getting that put together.
and I think that's all I have for now.
Kevin, I would ask you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you would, could you give an update on the conversation that you had with the meeting with Norfolk Southern, just so we can give council an update on what took place there?
Jason and I met with the rail boss for Norfolk Southern for this project, for the wastewater line replacement project. Initially, and it was a big, long process of going through permitting, all that kind of stuff, and it'd be 3-4 months going through this process. So we decided, let's try to meet with somebody out there local. So he was gracious enough to meet us out there, and we just kind of laid out the project plans, the old drawings of where the old casing originally is at, and all that details on that. And we just asked him if there was, a way that we could keep this project moving along without this long drug out process, expensive process too. And so after probably, we were there about a half hour, 45 minutes down there at the tracks, just talking and looking over the right of ways and everything about that. He has, in his opinion, no problem. We're going to be, as long as we stay a minimum 10 feet away from the tracks, put up a construction barrier where nobody can get any closer, any person or any equipment can get any closer than that. Naturally, he says the further away the better, which I think we could probably, where we're going to be digging at on the south side, we could probably get 12 to 15 feet away possibly. The right of way is like 50 feet, but on each side. But on the plans that we have, our pipe looks like it's out of the right of way, but down there as you go down, take a look, it doesn't seem that way, but so be it. We got, we've got a somewhat of a blessing to proceed. But on the north side, he says you're far enough away from where you're going to be at where, there's no problem. But yeah, he gave us the kind of the go ahead just to proceed and put up all the protection. And he said he'd probably be the main guy going through the area anyhow. He has another guy that kind of monitors the crossings and stuff like that. But other than that, it's just basically him and that person. But so which is good news. We're going to meet with the engineer, the construction engineer tomorrow at 3:00. Let him know what's going on, and then also Jason just heard today from the EPA about shutting off the softeners during this time, during the day while they're boring, things like that, hooking everything back up at night, turning them back on, things like that, because there is a process if you have those softeners shut off for a length of time that you got to go through. But Jason and I was talking. I think we can have whoever is doing the construction hook that line back up so we can keep those running.
So the major holdup has been the permitting process with Norfolk Southern, which is absolutely ridiculous. Just my personal opinion. The information that they wanted from 50 years ago. So I task you and Jason with contacting someone directly with Norfolk Southern, and you basically have his blessing. So now we're in a situation where we need to get a comfort level for the village before we go out there and actually start moving any dirt or whatever,
Sure.
Knowing that the supervisor, the person that would be in charge of that, is comfortable with what we're going to do.
Correct.
Versus having to wait 3 or 4 months
months.
through a permitting process, and that's kind of where we're at. And we'll get it worked out. I'm very confident of that. But there's no way, after seeing the questions that were on that permit, that the Village of Enon could truthfully answer those questions. It
It's
just
like they
cannot
wanted
be
to
answered.
know the condition of the steel going underneath the railroad tracks. They wanted to do a pressure test, of all that kind of stuff. It was ridiculous. And how would you do
It is
that?
ridiculous. I agree. So, but thank you for the update, and we're going to continue working on that and make sure that we have everything covered as best as we can. So,
We do have a BZA meeting, just to let you in on that, on, I think, three requests on September 18th. The flushing schedule, we're right on schedule. We are in Jason's edition back there right now, so he, probably 3 weeks it will be done. And then also, just a reminder, September 26th is the shred event, so.
Kevin, let me ask you on the Norfolk Southern. Do you think that the verbal permission from the engineer, the supervisory engineer, is going to be enough to protect the village if something happens when we're out there? Or do we something more in writing that will allow us to do what we need to do and without any harassment? I don't mean harassment in a negative way. Well, maybe I do, but without any concerns and potential legal action by Norfolk Southern because we did something that wasn't permitted in writing because of all those other things that they asked for originally.
Right. We did ask him if he could put that in writing. He said he would not.
Right.
Um,
And that's
Naturally.
And that, and therefore
Smart man.
that makes my hair go up about protecting us. Should something go wrong while we are doing what we need to do within their right of way.
and that's exactly, Dave, that's exactly where we're at. That's exactly what I had posed to Kevin. It's like, so we've got this side over here saying you're okay. You've got the permitting process. Somehow we need to get something that says, hey, we've got something in between.
Some holy water sprinkled somewhere.
Exactly right.
And I don't-
it's-
It says, yeah,
it just- I guarantee you, when you
you
meet
have
with
my
that-
mother, may I permission.
if you meet with that engineer, he is not going to be comfortable with just that meeting. And we already talked about this. So
Right.
we need something in between that's going to say, hey, here's, when you hang the hat on the nail, that we have something. And
I
that's
think
that's what you need to be
just
working towards.
from the discussion that we had with the rail boss out there, I don't foresee anything with, because he was really asking some questions and what was
Sure.
going on. And he said that, he wants to be involved in every step along the way so he can kind of a wink of an eye shed some, shed some questions from other people and things like that. So I think,
And if we're outside of the right of way,
right.
they probably have no legal authority.
Right.
But that's something that the village would check on.
Yeah.
But if the right of way is 50 feet and we're moving only 15 feet off the tracks, then we're never going to be out of the right of way.
Right. So,
Keep working on it, please.
We're working on it. We're working on it. So.
Questions for our administrator? Thanks, Kevin. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
What? No, you didn't.
Police report. Officer Statesman, good evening. Thank you for stepping up in the absence of Chief Holler. There's just a couple things that if you could briefly update us on, and one of those was, I think it was your idea actually, a camp with a cop.
Yes, I actually kind of put together a little thing to create police and community interaction with kids. I go out patrolling around. I see the kids all the time. They're waving. Sometimes I'll throw lights on at them. You know, they love it. They try to get that community involvement with the police. So I love to camp. So I'm like, a lot of kids love to camp. So I'm like, what better way to put together a little bit of an event? So I was throwing out an idea of putting about 30 kids together with parents there. Galloway Park, bring their own tents. We have a movie outside at night.
Oh, cool.
Obviously, we're there. I would be there. We cook out and have s'mores and like a little small fire, which obviously all this stuff has to get approved. But
Need a permit for that?
Don't get me started.
I looked at the, obviously the Eden Park down there, but as far as the location of it, I thought it'd be safer in a quieter environment, especially with movies at night. Putting on a little projector outside for them and play some cornhole with the parents, stuff like that. Just have a little interaction.
I think that's really
So,
cool.
Yeah, it's something that would be an annual thing or springtime or fall. That would be cool for the kids.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I never heard of it before, but I think it's wonderful.
So, yeah, I'm putting together details on that. So, and also Officer Schaefer completed CIT training, which is helping out the police interact with folks that may be dealing with mental health crisis, and helping us give them the proper channels to get to outside police and get into more of a healthcare setting that they need to go, give them access to that. So it helps us train them. So,
Good deal.
yes, sir.
Questions for Officer Statesman?
No.
Thanks for letting me put you on the spot.
Absolutely. No problem there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And let's go to Mrs. Sweet, committee reports. I think you have a set of minutes in there somewhere. Did I see
do.
minutes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a Public Service Committee meeting, August 22nd, and I have the minutes here, if y'all see that. And I want to approval for those minutes, so I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you both. Everybody in favor, huh?
Aye.
Aye.
How about- Okay, thanks. Okay. Whitaker and Bear. Thank you. And also, while I have your attention, we also would like to, I know Kevin mentioned the position descriptions for the assistant administrator and clerk of courts. And basically what we want to talk about tonight and get approval of switching the name from administrative assistant to assistant administrator. And you all got a chance to read that, and I think if anybody wants to say anything else about it, feel free, and then we can maybe vote on it and get it done.
So the thing that I am stuck on still from 3 weeks ago is what Dave brought up about how does it look on paper to have currently we have a part-time village administrator, and this would be on paper saying that with a part-time administrator, we need a assistant administrator. It's not really
Full-time.
lining up in my head, right? And I don't know why I didn't think of that from the beginning. I think the position description you guys put together, it's great. It outlines everything that position, takes care of.
Doesn't it really add things to what she does right now as far as, because I saw the verbiage added that, she serves as the assistant or serves as the administrator when you're out of pocket. I mean, that wasn't part of the duty description before. So, I mean, those things were added.
I guess I just don't, I'm not sure that it makes sense to me to change the title. Now, I think the goal of this, I think, was splitting the clerk of courts and the administrative assistant or assistant administrator position. In the future, I know in the past we've had two different people performing those jobs. Currently, we have one person that's doing both. And in the future, I could see it going back to two. Right now, I can't see changing the title. Does it diminish anything that's done currently? Absolutely not. I'm kind of the one that brought it up, and that was my bad, just from my office and my regular job. Administrative assistant meant something different than what it means here. And I think that's kind of what started the whole conversation. But at the end of the day, to me, I don't know that it.
When originally, back in the day, after somewhere between 2009 and not too long ago, there were two positions. The second position was creative, and the intent was to make the position assistant administrator. And when the time came to make the motion, it was misnamed administrative assistant. So we're just simply correcting what the intent of the original separation was.
But on another note, if that was something that was done several years ago, does that really apply today?
Yes, because
You know,
it's
just
still the
because
same
it was-
position. It's
just
still the
because it
same
was-
position.
Thought of that back then to be a certain way, is that do we need an assistant, full-time assistant administrator in support of the village administrator's role? And even when you look at the position description now, there are many more things that are administratively oriented than they are administrator oriented. There's some verbiage that was added, maybe after the 22nd meeting, to make it appear to be more assistant administrator focused. But by and large, when you look at the duties that are on here, I mean, they're no different than many other administrative assistants that serve all kinds of organizations, whether that be academia, the medical community, or in the corporate world. Administrative assistants have a plethora of responsibilities. It's not typing, but they just have a plethora of responsibilities, and what we need here in the village is just that. Those kinds of administrative support in a lot of areas. Just by throwing in a couple, three sentences, it says you get to serve as the administrator in the absence of the current village administrator. In my mind, it doesn't cut mustard that's changing the title to village administrator is warranted.
But you're assuming that we're always going to have a part-time village administrator, and that's not necessarily true either. There might come a day when the village decides to have a full-time village administrator, at which time we can have an assistant administrator still to do the same duties that are listed here.
Let me interject something. When we set this position up for the administrator, let me kind of clarify this just a little bit. Because of the knowledge that the administrative assistant had and the superintendent of water had, it was my belief that it could be called part-time. And looking back on that, I don't know that was the right thing to do versus hiring someone and saying, you're going to work so many hours a week. This is what we're going to pay you. This is what we expect you to get done. That probably would have been, looking back, would have been a better approach on that position, but that's what we did at the time. I know Elmer was involved with that just a little bit. And there was a lot of thought that went into it, but I'm not sure that that terminology, that part-time, really is fitting for what that position does. When that position is absent, if, and I'm just going to, say, Kevin, you're on vacation, you're whatever, I call that assistant or administrative assistant in your absence and say, hey, can you do this? Can you look into that? Whatever, because I don't bother you, plain and simple. True?
Right.
So that's the way I want it as mayor. I like to have it that way. So it has worked well for me, and that's just a fact. I'm not advocating one way or another. I'm just stating what happens in your absence. So.
And when I was an executive director, or sometimes called principal, in the corporate world, and had a staff of well over 100, not 7. When I went on vacation or when I went on leave, then I would tell the president of the company, okay, if you have any questions, comments, snide remarks, please contact Bob, Carol, Ted, or Alice, because that was on a temporary basis. And when we go on vacation, we have the same kind of policy that we want people to be on vacation, therefore not on call. So therefore, we try not to contact them. But if I'm gone, then this person is someone I designated to step up and do that. But it's just temporary and it's infrequent. To say that we need somebody because the village administrator goes on vacation to be designated officially as an assistant, that doesn't hold water in the normal work world, because that's not, I don't know, Jeremy, if you have anybody that's the assistant this or that. No, because it's just not necessary. But when you look at the position, if you were to put the village administrator's position up against what this assistant administrator thing is called right now, there are very, very few duties that are the same. Because Kevin's is not administratively oriented, and this job description is predominantly administratively oriented. So therefore, I don't see how we go from that and the need for an assistant, officially designated administrative assistant, how we go from where we're at now to a need to have an administrative assistant when the job responsibilities aren't even that. They're not even close. I mean, you have a manager, an assistant manager, director, or assistant director, their duties are almost mirrored. But not here.
I mean, I don't know that it needs to go back to the committee. I'm not sure what is the end goal figuring out what we want to name this position, and it's still the same position description? It should be, right? Whether it's the assistant administrator or the administrative assistant, I think the duties and functions of the position are going to stay the same. I'm not sure what else the committee can come up with. To me, the goal was to get position descriptions for everyone. We met as the committee and wanted to split those positions for the things, we talked about earlier. So I think really the question is, does the council want to name this position assistant administrator, or does it stay as administrative assistant? And like I said, whatever the name of the, or title of the position is, I don't think anything changes myself. I don't know if anybody else feels it does.
Well, my other question would be, do we create an assistant administrator position just to have one? Not saying that anyone is taking that job right now. Because, I mean, I was under the impression that we were just getting job descriptions for all the jobs that were needed in the village. This isn't about who's currently doing anything right now. Now, there are positions already filled that had to be redone. But does this village need an assistant administrator?
My
And if
question as an outsider off of the committee is that, does the new PD that's out for the administrator or assistant administrator, would that be caused to have to provide more remuneration to the person that is currently performing those duties? Or would that move them from one pay status to another based on a higher responsibility of duties and tasks?
I think that would be inevitable,
That's what I see off of this.
and I don't think it's warranted.
I don't mean to interfere. I'm just saying that that's,
No.
as an outsider, that's what my concern would be looking at it.
Well, okay, so for this evening, can we at least separate the positions, clerk of courts as its own position, even if it's the same person doing it at present, just so that in the future we have two separate positions with two separate pay scales? Can we at least agree on that tonight?
Yeah, I can.
And
thought
make
that
a
was
motion.
already-
Well, I
I
mean,
thought that was already established.
under clerk of courts,
Yeah, I didn't know that. I
we
thought that
do
was
that
always
already?
that way. I didn't know
under
we
clerk
did
of
that.
courts, reconciling monthly bank statements and dispersing funds to the village officer, is that a clerk of court function?
Yes.
Which one was
I
that,
haven't,
Dave?
I would like to see that.
Currently, she does reconcile that, Dave, that monthly statement for the mayor's court.
For the mayor's
Yeah,
court.
I think they're just talking this.
The mayor's court.
Is that what you're talking about, the mayor's court?
I'm
Yeah.
talking about the third bullet, sir.
I think you're kind of taking it as what the fiscal officer is doing. This is what that is saying.
Yeah, that's
They're
that.
reconciling monthly year-to-date balances in the mayor's court, not our other funds.
And I think that language should be added into that that's a mayor's court bank statement. It's not just a monthly bank statement.
Assuming that's what that means. Am I
Yeah.
correct, Tim?
Which one? Hang on.
So this,
It's
Clerk
the
of court.
third bullet down,
So
Tim.
clerk of court, yeah, so the clerk of court, she has a mayor's court fund that she reconciles monthly.
So I don't know
And
why,
then those should line up,
right,
yeah, with that.
right.
but since it's under the
But-
position
but we've
description
already
of
ha-
clerk of courts.
We've
then
already
assume
had
that would
in the
be-
past a clerk of courts, because when it first started, that person did it and it was not combined with any other position in the village. So we have had that in the past. So if I understand it, this would basically just clarify, reestablish that position because, and I said this at the last meeting, at some point in time,
we may-
we're going to have a new person and they're not going to want to do both positions. And you're going to have to separate, in all likelihood, that out. My recommendation is to pass that and go ahead and get it established, even if you don't do anything with the other thing right now, but get that one put back in there as it's listed in that job description. And I don't know whether you're looking for a motion to do that, but I would entertain a motion to establish that position into the records.
So moved.
As a separate
Yeah,
position.
Separate.
as a separate position,
Yep.
yes. Did I get a second on
I'll
that?
second.
Okay. So motion by Mr. Whitaker, and we have a second by Mr. Bear. Any further discussion? Call a roll, please.
Mr. Babcock,
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Bear,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah.
This is for clerk of courts only.
Okay, yes.
Okay, that motion does pass. And let's see, we have no old business, no new business, no executive session. Public comments, anybody? Rob, good to see you tonight. You excited to getting started?
Very much so.
The clock is ticking.
Mayor, before we adjourn, just a reminder, the Heroes versus Breast Cancer weekend is this coming at the VFW. There'll be softball games, there'll be, I think, Jeep show, arts and crafts, food, both Saturday and Sunday. The opening ceremonies are usually provided by the Clark County Sheriff's Honor Guard, and I think that's set for 8 o'clock. I think that's what I saw on
Yeah,
the,
it's usually been like
8 p.m.?
8 a.m.
8
yeah, for the opening ceremonies themselves.
If you can stream it from, Facebook, then I'll watch it from Florida.
Hey, you know,
Bragging.
Yes, ma'am.
sounds like an administrative function to me. But anyway, we always enjoy going down there, and we appreciate the work of Deputy Wise and his family, as well as our Clark County and Greene County first responders on it. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, we leave Friday.
Hey, slid that motion
Friday
in
morning.
there, Rick.